fine. Um, Hopefully it will work fine. For safety reason, I boosted a little bit to get a little. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of it. It's the first time I record a video with my webcam on a long time, and uh, and okay, it's set to default. I'm just checking some information here. First thing you should see and watch after when you are after buying a good Android phone is the RAM and the parts used in the processor, and also you should also watch out for how good camera they have if you are planning to make YouTube videos or record videos or basically care about phones and how phones look. You should basically always have your phone have as good parts and often more than you need actually to make the job done. If you are a photographer, you of course want a phone with a good camera. If you are gonna make videos, you still need a phone with a good camera. And today it's some pretty good phones out there that I'm gonna do a review of one of them. It's the Huawei P20. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. It's gonna get a review very soon up there. But this is kind of a how to buy a good Android phone for in the and here we are using Norwegian crowns, so it's not dollar, it's Norwegian crowns. A phone in the 3,000 to 8,000 Norwegian crowns range of phones. Of course, in 8,000 crowns class, you can get an iPhone 8 and Samsung's more top models, kind of around that price point in Norway. Huawei P20, the base model lies around 6,500 Norwegian crowns, and for me personally it's the better deal of it, but it's a lot of different phones around there. You get Sony phones, you get HTC, you get a lot of those, and you should always know the manufacturer of the phone you are planning to buying, because if you know the brand, it's a bigger chance that you get some decent part in it. And the reason for that is that Sony and Samsung and Huawei can take a hit when it comes to uh, price on their phones. Basically, they can sell a phone on a loss to boost marketing for the phones, and they have a lot of good phones, a lot of them, a lot of them. I fucking mean it, a lot of them. And Huawei is the only Chinese brand I personally will recommend as for today, because I have some experience with Huawei. They make some good phones to a reasonable price. Uh, Phones that could have been even more expensive. This is an example of this. It's the Huawei P20, and it's making my day a more interesting thing, really, and it has really good battery life, but that I will talk more intensively about in the Huawei review, for say the Huawei P20 review. I have not got the Pro, so I will not make a review of the Pro phone, but first of all, when you are looking for an Android phone, always do research, because research can save you from doing a lot of the biggest bombers. biggest bummers I have got self personally going on is to buy an Android tablet or a phone to 500 Norwegian crowns, and it basically won't start right either. It crashes when you are typing in the SimLock code, and runs a really old version of Android, and that's something to look after. The, the version of Android the phone is running. The current version is 8.1, I think. I will check really quick. I have it on my phone. Just take a second. It's the newest version of Android is 8.1.0, and that's the newest version that I run at my phone. But Android 8 is the newest version of Android. If you then have a phone that runs 6, it's two versions behind. Do you have a phone that runs 7? You have a version that runs one version behind. And really, when it comes to buying devices these days that will last you in the long run, I would not personally buy a phone that runs two versions of Android behind. So Android 6 is out, Android 7 still can be in it for a good while, but to be sure that you can have the phone for at least 2 or 3 years, I would buy a phone with Android 8. Not just look at the 8, however, do also look at the parts, especially RAM and processor and memory unit, because a lot of the cheaper phones actually have Android 8 running on them. A lot of them. Of course, they that never update them, but a lot of phones get made with it, but hasn't really the specs to run the Android 8 system. And when you buy a phone like that, you just ask to get trouble and get the phone exploding in your pocket. For safety reasons, I will not recommend buying a phone for less than 2 or 3 thousand Norwegian crowns. That's around the price point where quality starts to get good at the phones. And there it's less likely that you get screwed over by some shitty parts and old programware. Um, that's around the point where phones start to get good. But do you want the latest features, the most powerful parts, the most powerful things, you should at least put in 6,500, 7,500, 8,000 Norwegian crowns on the phone, because then you get some of the best parts in the whereabouts. And you should always, and I have mentioned it before this video, but you should always do research, not just on the phone model, not just watch reviews on the phone, but also about which store that has the best price for the device. Always check out at least 3 different sellers, stores that have the phone stocked and their prices, because you can actually save a few $100 Norwegian crowns, or a half a thousand crowns if you are lucky on a good phone and you do your research and check places that tell you which is the cheapest place to buy from. It can spare you a lot of money, it can get you a better phone than you normally would be able to afford, just because you bought it at the right time at the right store. And this is another tip. Often the year after a flagship phone is released, or one and a half year after a flagship phone is released and 1 or 2 flagship phones has been released, the price dump significantly on the good top phone for a few years ago. And it's still a top phone, so it still will drag with for at least 1 or 2 years after you bought it, and will most likely have updates coming for it. So you should, if able to, get a flagship phone, not necessarily the newest flagship phone from the phone manufacturers. Maybe take the yesteryear's model or the year before that model, because you still get good quality, but it isn't the best. But it is a flagship phone, at least. It's not some phone they have just used 5 minutes on throwing together in a factory somewhere with spare parts. It's actually parts and has actually been a top model. Those tips will help you, most likely help you to get a phone that's useful to buy, useful camera and apps, and can use social media and can multitask with it, because the cheapest Android phones around, those cost a few $100, a few hundred Norwegian crowns, but they doesn't really work to multitasking. They doesn't really work to the most part of the stuff. So always try to get, price doesn't necessarily have to say on anything on quality, but most likely when it comes to phone, it has a lot to say about quality. It doesn't mean that Apple don't overcharge on some of the phones, like iPhone 10 or the iPhone X Anniversary Edition. 3 GB of RAM, 2 cameras, and one front camera, and a Face ID sensor that kind of has been available as an unlock method in some Android devices for years, and they charge 10,000 for it. 10,000 Norwegian crowns. A lot of money for a base model phone. And I didn't buy the iPhone X. I'm never gonna do it either, because I'm not gonna waste 10,000 crowns on a phone. It's kind of that simple. I bought a phone that really looks like iPhone 10. You can see the notch in the display. It has the notch. It kind of has a lot of the same design as Apple, just a lot more finish. That's the Huawei P20. A lot more finished than Apple. A lot smarter in my opinion. And use those tips I've given you to buy an Android phone, and you most likely will get a device that you are happy with. A device that maybe can outwork an iPhone, overdo an iPhone, or at least work at the same function level. Because remember, price has something to say, most likely. Sometimes it is not not accurate, but most likely with Android phone, the price has something to say. The cheaper the phone is, in less, if it costs less than 1,000 Norwegian crowns or less than 2,000 Norwegian crowns, it's most likely gonna be a junk phone that you may be able to use a few months before you get that tired of it that you actually have to buy another phone because it doesn't work to half of your social media stuff. And most likely most consumer need social media today, and if you can't update Facebook, it's not the phone for you. It's kind of what's shot Microsoft in the foot when with Windows 10 and Windows 8 phone. It was the Windows 7 phone that destroyed for the later editions of it, because the later Microsoft operation system, phone operative system was actually really enjoyable and some of the best phones I ever had. But still, Android is the norm and best because of Android and the way it works. It's Knut Tech here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Get notified about a video about some tech. or run out.